So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And I'm super excited to be joined by one of the stars of Neighbours, the fantastic Liam Maguire. How are you, Liam?
I'm great. Happy to be here. Very excited. Thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And I mean, let's start off. Where did it all kind of begin for you? Where did the love of acting come from? How did you know that that was sort of where you wanted to go?
Hmm. God, that's a great question. How did I find myself in acting? I think I had three older siblings, and they often used to put on little performances, and they would always exclude me. So I think I started then having like a vengeance that I was like, I'm going to show you. So I started singing, I think, actually initially because I had a family friend, and was just like performing in any way that I could, and found myself in like um just singing at like carols by candlelights and whatever local things. And then a singing teacher said you should try it for um like a to try and get an acting agent. So I did, and then fortunately I started getting little bits of work when I was like in high school. And then I was like, this is amazing and so much funner than school. So I kind of got a bit addicted to it then. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, getting to sort of get into the world of acting for yourself,
Mm.
obviously it's it's very hard work, and it does take a lot to kind of get your foot in the door. I mean, do you were you quite used to sort of the because acting, that there is a lot of rejection involved in the kind of the acting industry. Is that something you found sort of quite hard to deal with, or is that something that you can get used to after a while?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? It's sort of have you done acting?
I
Have you
no, I've
performed?
never done performing. I say kind of I got into to radio, sort of voluntary radio. Been doing it now for 15 years, but no, say acting is something I've never tried. I don't know if I'd be
Okay,
any good
yeah.
at it because I don't think I'd be very good at remembering lines.
It's yeah, it is sort of part of it. I think you do have to grow quite a thick skin. I think because I started doing like auditions when I was quite young, I think I got really used to figuring out how to like when I'd audition for something, kind of completely let it go. Even these days, to be honest, I don't tell people if I'm auditioning for something. I don't tell anyone anything until it's definitely going to be on TV. Because people get so excited, which is so nice, but then you kind of get more heartbroken because people are like, "Oh, you didn't get that thing." So I tend to kind of keep it to myself. Because yeah, I mean, which is a bit sad. You kind of can't let yourself daydream too much on some of these things, or to just enjoy the moment that you've got. Or if you're auditioning for something, being like, this is there's just fun to be had within this, rather than already thinking about the next step if you get it or any of that stuff. So I think I've probably like come up with tools to kind of defend myself a little bit because I probably would have been crushed by it by now. I think if I hadn't figured that stuff out. I think.
I mean,
Mm.
obviously, Neighbours is such a huge show all around the world. And I mean, how did that come about for you? I mean, were you a fan of the show before joining? Tell us a bit about how it all came about for you.
Totally. Yeah. I mean I grew up watching Neighbours, which it was on my TV every night. I mean then it was 5 nights a week, so it was really part of your every day of your life, really. So yeah, it was watched it for so many years. I how did I find myself back in this world? It's like um I I actually did do a tiny part as a lawyer about maybe 5 years ago now. And I've auditioned for bits and bobs kind of over the years, and like never have really. No, I don't think I've ever really fitted any of the parts. And I mean, I don't know how much of this stuff I can say, but whatever. I'm sure none of it's bad. But so I found myself playing that lawyer, which was really fun. I just remember getting to set, and I was only there for like a day, which generally is kind of guesty. You do normally get a day or so. And I was immediately in a scene with Toadie and Susan, and it was like it's quite surreal to have grown up watching them and then finding yourself in the room talking to them. So I had that experience, so I realized what it was all like behind the scenes, and I had a bit of a sense of it. Actually, when I was younger, I even did a tour of the Neighbours set that someone had won, and they'd kindly invited me along. So yeah, I really have. It's quite strange to be back now, kind of like working in it. But and then I actually auditioned to be I think his name's Logan, the character, the love interest who'd come in before me. And then they'd approach me for this role. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm not entirely sure what happened in the what the maths was there with the producers and the casting. Maybe they decided I didn't come across enough like a stalker, so they kind of tried to they handed me Rhett.
I suppose that's quite a nice compliment.
Hopefully, hopefully. Yeah, yeah, potentially. It's quite, yeah, a lot of my friends were surprised, because Matthew's such a great actor as well, and he's such a lovely guy that some of them were like, "Oh, I would have casted in the opposite. You seem a bit more like a weirdo." And Matthew's a lovely guy, but it's great. It's so, I'm so happy to be playing Ray. It's great. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, getting to join the show, and you get to say work with some amazing cast. I mean, obviously, some of your first scenes were sort of at the Sonia's nursery and kind of
Yeah.
getting involved in that, and obviously getting to work with Ryan again, who's just an icon. So, I mean, is it quite? I know you said it was quite sort of like a pinch me moment, but is it? It must be quite an honor to get to work with these icons who have been doing it for so long and who you can kind of learn from and get sort of
Mhm.
techniques from.
Yeah, it's so interesting because they're so generous, and I think because they've been doing it for so long. I mean, I'm sure you've interviewed a lot of them as well. It's like they are so warm and welcoming. It's interesting that it feels like the longer people are there, the kind of more like comfortable and generous. And that's not, I mean, to be honest, everyone's super lovely. They just sort of like, but some of those kind of icons are so, yeah, so welcoming and so kind. And yeah, well, kind of like it's the comfortability with everything that they do. And they really do let you do your own thing. And then, but yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like they really let you do your own thing, and they're just super like open for you to do whatever. But you can definitely see from them like there's lots of technical stuff that they know that you can definitely observe, or that every now and again they'll kind of like give you a pointer, which you like write that down. It's great. Um, yeah, they're all quite incredible, and like so early on. I mean, I think it was like when I did there was the Sonia's nursery, and then in between that, I knew that I was going to have to be doing boylesque, so they started rehearsals. So that was the first time that I'd been face to face with the Dr. Carl, and it was when we were all learning to do body rolls. So that was even more bizarre because I was like, this is that I don't know what's happening. This context is bizarre. But I think they all have such incredible senses of humor as well, which makes everything like they could be so intimidating, and they instead opt to like be really funny and kind and warm, which I think makes everyone do their best work as well. So I really appreciate them. They're great.
I mean, doing the whole boylesque because speaking to a couple of the cast, and I had Lucinda Cowden on, who obviously got to be, the host, talking about boylesque and what a great fun day it was, or a couple of days it was.
Yeah.
How did you find it? Because it did look like a lot of fun, but also a lot of work.
Yeah, it was so it was a lot, I think, for me because I mean, it was kind of how I met most of the cast. So it was such a strange context to be meeting everyone in. A lot of them I met as I was kind of like stripping for them on stage. So it was like it was quite daunting to be honest. It was it was fun. Fortunately, there was like a lot of laughs and everyone was really supportive. But yeah, for me, it really felt like I was kind of flung in the deep end quite quickly, which probably, I think it'd probably be, I think it would be a lot less scary, kind of knowing them slightly more now that you're like, oh, okay, I think, because also you're kind of you're starting in a new workplace and you want to make a good impression and you're sort of like trying to, figure out who everybody is as well. And at the same time, you're popping balloons on yourself. So there's quite a lot going on. But yeah, ultimately it was really fun. And I think um, there was a lot of kind of camaraderie, I think that also that I got that I probably wouldn't have like had access to if I had have just come in regularly because we were all rehearsing for so long. And so I sort of, and we all bonded over the fact that we were all learning this dance, and Bailey and the boys were so great, and like it was. So yeah, it was a little bit scary, I think, for me in particular, because I was kind of just like a bit overwhelmed by the whole, by just even the fact that I was on Neighbours. But yeah, it was great, and I think I'm really glad that that was how how Rhett kind of started off, really, because it's kind of always good to enter with a bit of a bang, I think.
I mean, did you
It's
find it
fun.
quite hard to learn the dance routine, or was that the easy part, and was it the rest that was quite difficult? So, how was the whole sort of situation?
I I I think I was all right at the dancing. I actually felt less intimidated by the dancing. We had quite a few rehearsals, and they're all really like supportive and like made sure we went through things as much as we needed and everything. So um yeah, I felt and I did a bit of dancing when I was younger, and so like and I'm definitely prone to doing body rolls on a weekend out or something. So I was kind of like, this is fun. That part I actually don't think I was not nearly as intimidated about the dancing as some of the other boys, which I didn't realize that that stuff I kind of felt more comfortable with. Yeah, so the rehearsals, all that stuff was kind of fairly relaxed. It was probably like when I had this giant balloon costume on, and then was I kind of had to figure out what to be doing with this, or what was kind of going to, because you could rehearse all you wanted, but it was only until I was put in this giant balloon costume that I kind of knew what was like going. And Neighbours move so fast. There's only so much of that you can rehearse. That stuff I was probably more overwhelmed by, because I just couldn't rehearse popping balloons and stuff. Probably in the same way that Xavier could rehearse juggling or something. So that stuff I was probably a bit more span out by. But yeah, the process as a whole, it was pretty smooth otherwise. Um, yeah, I was more scared of the individual routines than the group one. I'm not sure how the other boys felt about that stuff, but yeah, that at least was a routine, because whereas the individual ones, we had to kind of improvise them to some extent. And I was out there by myself and in a big balloon costume. So like that was just a bit more daunting, and I didn't really know people. So whereas the other stuff, it felt like we were all in it together, and I just had to follow the steps and everything, which I really enjoyed. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it all, but yeah.
Now, one of the other things I have to talk to you about is the amazing Sally-Anne Upton, who obviously you get to work with in the scenes when obviously she's sort of selling her house. I mean, I've spoken to her, and she is just an absolute diamond in real life. What was it like getting to work with her? Because she is fantastic.
She's, she's incredible. Yeah, I loved working with her. She's so funny. I mean, her comic timing is just incredible. And so it's such a gift in that place as well, because that her character kind of gets to exist and just gets to pop up in that way, because it's so funny every time that she does, and like such a delight. And also she brings so much heart to it. It's quite amazing. I Yeah, I mean, she's so, like, in you having met her, she's so lovely and down to earth and warm, like incredibly warm, and just kind and kind of non-assuming. She's so lovely. But I I just had a ball working with her, because as soon as she's kind of on and is like reaching out her hand for me to kiss it, or kind of throwing, I was genuinely laughing a lot. That's my favorite thing on set, is kind of someone that can really make you cackle like that. And also, I love her relationship with Xavier, like Byron, that they're like seeing, and like with Nicolette and it's so funny. They have such an interesting kind of texture to their relationship. It's kind of sweet. Um so fun, great, and just like so easy and fun to work with. But yeah, it was a ball. Yeah,
And I mean,
loved it.
the amazing thing with her as well is that you get some sort of actors who kind of become a little bit like their characters. She is nothing like, her character is quite can be quite nasty at times. She is lovely in real life. They are worlds apart, and I think sometimes that is the real sign of a true amazing actor, where they are completely different when they sort of play a character.
Totally. Yeah, she's incredible. Yeah. And I think also like playing someone that can be a little bit villainous, like I think people that manage to kind of find the joy in that where like you still love seeing them every time they're on the screen. Like she doesn't, it's not a version of a character that you actually are like deeply despise. There's something like cheeky at the same time where you're like absolutely charmed by it. And I think that's a real skill as well, being able to kind of turn a character that could be quite kind of unlikable into she's still doing these kind of bizarre things sometimes, but still strangely likable and like charming and funny. I totally agree though.
Now, obviously, sort of over the time that we've seen you on the show so far, we've noticed that there is a kind of bubbling sort of romance between obviously Aaron and Rhett. And I mean, we
Mm.
can't talk too much about what's coming in the future, and we don't like to do spoilers anyway, so that's not a problem. But
Yeah.
but I mean, obviously, what would you like to see happen for Rhett and would you like to see Rhett and Aaron together in the future? What would you love to happen?
Yeah. I mean, trying to take out anything that I know about what happens in the script. Yeah, I think they probably got a little bit too. I mean, there's I think there is probably more that they need to know about each other to figure out if that stuff is going to work. I think they do have like kind of like a chemistry. I mean, so yeah, I think if they can figure out, because there's also kind of more facets to Rhett and like, um, and I think he probably hasn't experienced very much of Aaron either. Like, it's interesting also having kind of seen bits of Aaron before I was there as kind of Rhett as well, and you kind of like there's other kind of facets to Aaron as well that like Rhett hasn't necessarily been like he's kind of like when Rhett meets Aaron, he's kind of like in a different space than like he's not still kind of grieving and like there's quite a lot going on for him. So I think if they can figure it out, then I think then that would be great. It's whether or not they'd be able to get there, I think. But or if they just end up being great friends, I'm not. Yeah, I guess we'll see in life. Yeah, or on Neighbours. Yeah,
I mean, you must love getting to work with Matty Wilson. I mean, say I have spoken to him a few times, and he is such a lovely guy in real life and such a talent. So you must love getting to work with him.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny that the more time that I spend with him, the more I enjoy it. Like he's from the get-go, he has like quite an amazing skill where he makes everyone in the room like feel completely welcome. And he doesn't get too caught up in what he's doing ever. Like if there's background actors or anything, he'll make sure he like goes over and says hello and does a joke, and and same with like if we're shooting on anywhere else, like he just makes sure that like everyone in the room feels like acknowledged and like seen and and welcome. And he has little like quips with everyone. It's such a big set. I mean, he's obviously there a lot as well, but um yeah, he's quite amazing the way he kind of carries himself around set. Particularly like he just does like 1,000 things in his day-to-day life as well. I don't know how he manages to juggle it all. But yeah, and he's great. I mean, he's also someone who's been there for so long. So every now and again he'll kind of be like you throw me a pointer about like, oh, it's going to be easier for the camera if we sort of if you can get it, like you'll give me like great tips about things, which I'm just not. He's around it every day, and he'll tell me things that some of the older actors have told him as well. So it kind of flows on, which I think that Neighbours was kind of his initial training ground as well, and like so he's kind of just absorbed it all. But yeah, he's so great. He's quite amazing. Yeah, I was saying to him that it's like he's quite amazing the way that he can do the dramatic stuff and really do the funny stuff when he gets the chance as well. It's great. Yeah, he's a great actor and he's so natural and comfortable and kind and yeah, I really really enjoy working with him. He's great. I really lucked out.
I mean, as I say, he's one of these actors that he's always been fantastic, but I think he really shone with the David Death storyline,
Mm,
and that was, I would say, was some of his best work.
yeah.
So, I mean, what he's going to do in the future is just super exciting. I
Mm.
can't wait to see what else is going to come. But I mean, obviously, getting to work on Neighbours, are there any of the cast that you haven't really got to work with that you would love to get the chance to sort of interact with going forward?
There's who do I honestly, because I've been so kind of there like I've had little interactions with a lot of them, but there's a lot there's a lot of them that are so funny, like I've had small interactions with Nicolette, for example, but she's so like um funny and interesting that like and kind of a good sparring partner, so fascinated to kind of come back to that. Um yeah, there's a lot. I keep thinking of them by their real names. Um Honestly, kind of like a lot because I probably worked more with the I got to know the boys probably a bit more throughout throughout that whole experience. So trying to think like yeah, I'm interested about like I don't really know very much about the whole kind of Lassiter's side of things. Like it's so far from my character for some reason. So every time I see that stuff, and the power dynamics there, I kind of love when I tune in like that stuff. It's like a mini Succession or something. Like I love it. So that stuff really makes me laugh. Because I've got like I think because those some of those characters are a bit more kind of like Seven Dennis and stuff. It's like they've all got a bit more kind of like business minded stuff, which is great. And I would love to be around that, but I don't think Rhett belongs. I don't think Rhett really belonged in that world. I think he's too nice. So I'd love working with lots of those people more. And yeah, I'm thinking, I think that world. I'm slowly kind of getting to know other people. So I've kind of been lucky enough to kind of dip into a lot. But yeah, that part of the world I haven't been in that building.
And do you think if the opportunity came about to become a regular, was that something you would love to happen going forward?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a funny one. I I think potentially, yeah. I guess we'll kind of see what happens or where they kind of, because you also don't want to like, I think I trust the writers as well that they'll like that, a storyline or a character will kind of phase out if that makes sense or where Rhett would belong. I'm not 100% sold on. Um, and so yeah, I think I definitely would be open to it because it's so much fun. So like, how could you say no really to doing more of it? Um, I don't know exactly what that would look like, but yeah, I'd definitely be open to it. At the moment, I feel like I have it great because I kind of am able to dip in and out. Um, but yeah, the more time that I spend there and kind of the more you get comfortable with it, it kind of does become a bit of like another home or something. So Um, yeah, I think inevitably I would have to say yes. I mean, it's great. Yeah, it's a great place to work.
Now, I mean, people need to keep watching. Obviously, we know that you'll be featuring in the future. We don't want to say how and what's going to happen,
Hmm.
but people need to keep watching. Here in the UK, you can watch it at 7 a.m. Monday to Thursday on Amazon Freevee. It's fantastic. I mean, outside of Neighbours, what's happening for you? What's going on sort of outside of Neighbours for you?
Well, I'm trying to write, like, I've got a couple of things in development. There's like actually in the UK, there's a play that hopefully will kind of get up next year, and there's a musical that I'm developing. So I try to kind of like playwriting and everything is also a big interest of mine outside of this stuff. So over the Christmas break, I'll be finishing off some of that stuff, and hopefully some of it can be over there in the UK. Yeah, so they're kind of writing really, which is fun, and enjoying the summer here, which is great. What's the weather like over there?
A bit wet and a bit windy, let's just say. So not the nicest. That's a typical British
Sorry about
winter for us, really. So I
that.
think we'd all
Yeah.
much rather be over in Australia at the moment.
Well, Melbourne can be a bit like that as well. Fortunately, the sun's come out now, so I'm trying to embrace it as much as I can.
Now, I just want to say, Liam, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're welcome back anytime, but thank you for giving up your time. Of course, keep safe, and yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Keep watching. Thanks for following along with Rhett. It's great. So happy to be here. Thank you.